Brian Tramel, Rhino JB, Rollin Into Mempho.
This is an STSPod.club production. I'm BT, and that's my host there, Rhino J. Oh, man, not Rhino today. I've got Brian Thompson here. I want to explain.
Yeah, explain to it. I got tired of listening to Rhino JB, so you know me, I pulled the plug on something. No, I'm just kidding.
You turned heel on us. No, Rhino's the Storms Friday night. I tried to wait around for him. He just still does not have power. Big hug, brother. We wish your power comes on as quick as possible.
Absolutely.
Had to get out a show and start talking about what happened yesterday, so that everybody will know what we think. We already got one person watching for sure, and that's Terrence Ward. Good to see you Friday night, Terrence Ward. It's been a long time. Before we get started, I want to apologize for our sound quality last week. It sucked. I apologize. It was my fault. Rhino actually tried to tell me there was a buzzing, and I didn't sound really good, but he was so clear that I just said, it sounds good.
It happened.
Yeah, it does, and I hate it. Patreon. We had a clip that came out at 8 o'clock that was me and Rhino from last week. $3, guys. It's going up to $5 on January the 1st. And tomorrow is the record store on Monday. Then me and Rhino will come back sometime this week with a review of the awards banquet. We had awards banquet last night. Was it last night? No, it was Friday night. Awards banquet Friday night. We went to that. We're going to review it and say what we think about the winners. And we also have Dynamite. I know you, Brian, you've joined us once for that. We're going to review AEW's Winter is Coming. A lot of rumors going on about that show. So I'm excited about it. There's got to be a debut for that show, because Sting was last year. There's got to be some surprise this year.
Something special.
Gotta be. All right, brother. We do hits, misses, and you've one of the very few people have done this with me, except for Ronald JB. So know we do hits, misses, MVP.
MVP, Daddy.
What do you look forward to for next week or the coming weeks? And thumbs up, thumbs down. So we're going to start with you, brother. Hits
from this past week. So I got caught up on a couple of weeks there and just kind of getting back in tune with what's going on with the Championship Wrestling for Memphis, and kudos to the guys for keeping on with things. I do like Kay Toomer. Looks like a big monster that has some potential there to really continue to grow and prosper. So like seeing him continue to move forward. This one's kind of a couple of personal ones to me here. Ivan Warsaw, man, that video, that he and I go way back, and I could take up the entire broadcast, but nothing but love for him. And he trained in the West Memphis area and got to work with him extensively. Almost saw him from one of his first training sessions, and to see where he's grown. So I last got to see him in person at the Bobby Eaton Memorial back in August. So love him. There's money to be made, and so I'm gonna shoot right now and tell the crew in Memphis and Dustin, make sure you tap into Ivan and what he's gonna bring to the table. So that's for me to do that. There's just money to be made there. I like Danny Be Good, man. It was good to see him on the broadcast. Yeah. Good to see him get a win. I like that babyface approach of we don't like to win that way. That's old school. I want to win it in the ring, or I want things to be fair, clean. And, of course, in the broadcast, you saw the tag team titles change hands twice. First time with a little shenanigans from Derek King slipping in, doing his thing. And, so it was good to see. One, I love Danny B. I got a history with him, and he did some really some cool professional things a couple years into my career, and I'll never forget it. So that's fast forward 20 years. Cool to see him get that moment with his son, even though it was brief, to hold the tag team titles there. You mentioned T-Bone watching, and so, of course, I like T-Bone in the ring for championship matches. I think that adds a little extra allure. I know because, typical matches, non-title matches, he's just in the background. You hear his voice, does a great job, but then you can see him when it should matter. When it should matter a little extra. They all should matter. All matches matter, but it should matter a little more when a championship is on the line. Two more things real quick on the hit side. Lots of action, man. This particular show was just slammed with action. Just lots of matches, lots of scenarios. I mean, a lot of chaos. I like the video packages, reminding my whole goal is when I was doing some RCW TV or whatever been involved with is you still have to remind people of what's going on, because you got to assume and you hope that every week somebody new is tuning in. So you can't assume that they're up to speed with you. So it's good to have at least even from the week before or something, some recaps. They did that a couple of times with Mike Anthony, who I'm going to plug here and say his intensity in the promo. I mean, I believe that promo. I know it was from the prior episode, but I really, it reiterates. I didn't feel like he was playing wrestler. I felt like this guy really wanted to go after the gun show and take that title. So kudos to my gun show as well. But Mike, really this week, I'm going to tip the hat for this particular week as far as a hit coming through on both the brawl and the promo. So that's my hits.
All right on. I'm going to piggyback on a couple of those with you. DJ Brown, the Hot Steppers winning the tag team titles. And then, like you said, you don't ever see this, man. You don't see the baby faces saying, I don't want to win that way. Boom, boom, boom. We went right back into it. It was awesome. It was awesome. Warsaw, I got him on there too. The Killer. We go way back too. I love Kevin, and I wish him the best on everything he does. And I was impressed with. First of all, I love the posse thing that they're doing, and there's kind of a inside joke about who the championship committee is. So they were looking for the committee, which I thought was funny. And I want to tell you something. Nothing against Peter Avalon, because I know he's a hard worker and he works for AEW, but I've never become a fan of his. I really haven't. But I think he fits so good in the small promotion. And he looks like this huge superstar on television in Memphis. And then he puts over Mikey, like he's getting over so big with just the Mikey. And he's a baby face, and the other Skimmerhorns are trying to keep him from getting over. That's the story there. I guess that's pretty much everything that I loved the street fight at the end, the way they did have technical difficulties. Then they had to piece together some stuff. But Mike Anthony's intensity, and when Brett Michaels, when he jumped over the ropes and Brett just pitched him into that wall, I popped big and I said, man, these two guys are stiff as hell. And there's a little bitty spot, Brian. I was down there Friday night. That between that wall and them jumping over is a small area, and there's a lot of intensity with Mike Anthony's improved. I've seen some of his very first matches. He was talking about Killer there, whether you'd seen some of his first match. Mike was just a small kid, really tiny, but he is coming. Along. That interview at the end of the show was also very good. Yeah. He is believable. I talked about this with Rhino. Is that they've made it where we watch matches and we go, the champion's going to win. Yeah. They have made it feel like no matter what, he could beat Brett Michaels at any time if he gets the chance. I mean, that's the way it feels.
And we talked about that a while back when we were on a broadcast talking about, a heel champion and a babyface champion. Right. And the two different styles of booking, and how can you run with a babyface champion? And that's exactly how to do it. Is you've got to, even though he's Hulk Hogan always stood tall at the end, but it didn't matter. They built the opponents up in such a way you didn't know. You thought Hogan would drop the leg, get the 1, 2, 3 at the end, but there was always just enough doubt to make you go ahead and buy that ticket and watch it or tune in or buy the pay-per-view or whatever. So very similar there. Yeah. No, I mean, you hit on a couple other things I didn't even include in my hits because I obviously don't want to dominate the time here but there were several. I mean, Peter Avalon's another. I think it's good to intertwine some of those guys from the United Wrestling Network into the Memphis. And plus, if you think about it, that goes back to when you think short and long-term vision in wrestling. Most people are short, week to week at best. Sometimes they don't even think week to week, but that's a whole other conversation. But this goes to show Dustin and his long-term planning. And I don't even know, maybe it wasn't even in the plans, but the whole idea of tying into United Wrestling Network and Dave Marquez, and now you have talents from other part of that territory coming in that have actually already somewhat been established. If you're a longtime viewer of Dustin and hosting the Old Championship Wrestling from Hollywood broadcast, he would first host before becoming its own Memphis brand. Separate from that, when he was just hosting, a Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. So people had probably seen Peter Avalon before, Mikey and whatnot on those broadcasts. So I think it kind of pulls everything full circle together and makes everything, even appear bigger than it is. So that's smart.
I had a chance to talk to some people and I'm going to kayfabe this because it's I talked to a lot of the crew, and I talked to some people that help book, and I was really impressed, Brian, and because they talked about 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 9 weeks, and 12 weeks. So that is we do this for 3 weeks. In the 6 week period, we want this accomplished. In the 9 week period, you don't see that in independent wrestling. You don't see people booking like that. So it's fantastic to talk to somebody that does that. All right, man. What was your misses for this show?
Misses. It's on the hit side, I mentioned a lot of action, but I'm going to add it to the misses because there's so much action. Sometimes maybe it's a little bit too much to digest, and that's something to keep in mind. And I don't want to call it, the old term is hot shotting, and I don't think that was the case. But that's a lot of action, so I don't know. You could also, just to keep in mind, you can't do that all the time. So I could obviously see, was this kind of a capping off a series of weeks of things and putting them all into one, but there's quite a bit of action. And when I say, you think, well, wait a minute, don't you want a lot of action? Well, you do, but you want to time it just right. So, that's my only thing is, catching back up, kind of being out of the loop for a few weeks and then getting back in here. I was like, man, that's a lot of action, but it's a lot of action trying to keep up with and everything. And so, maybe there was so much. Did you include so much that that people didn't digest what you wanted them to? And what I mean by that is, could there have been a little take out a match or two and put in, more video clips and really build up that heavyweight title match or heritage title match? So that's just something. I mean, that's again, getting nitpicky just because you got to have something in the misses category.
Right.
And then the end of the title match, and of course you smartened me up to, there were actual technical difficulties, and it wasn't like a planned technical difficulty. So of course that makes your perspective a little bit different. I don't know. It's hard two things. And even before that, I'm clocking it and I'm saying, okay, we've got 7 minutes for a heavyweight title match. And I'm thinking, I've already told the viewer, to me, could there have been an opportunity to start the show with that match? I mean, that sounds weird. Why do you start with a championship match of that magnitude? Well, the 60-minute angle and the street fight. Of course, I had to get up to speed on this wasn't like the first match. So there's been a couple matches in the series. So I get why, this is the first title match. I'd say, why are you doing street fight right out the gate? But obviously they've had some history now. But, coming in with 7 minutes, one, if I'm a new viewer, the anticipation of a title match, and I'm only getting it for 7 minutes. And then obviously you see what happens. I don't know. I mean, could you go off the air, the old school, go off the air with something catastrophic and then come back next week and see the conclusion and where they are, which actually would then be next Saturday, which leads right into their next big event. So, I mean, there could be a little bit of like leave a little, anticipation there of what happened. It was crazy and chaotic, and hey, we're having technical difficulties. Please stand by. We got to go off the air. We'll catch up with you. We'll clue you in or send them to. We did this with RCW one time with you. We went off the air and sent them to an RRO News online video, like a video we had embedded. Yep. And we sent an angle into that to kind of gauge, okay, is anybody watching this show? And then to see if anybody, what kind of hits that particular post got. And it probably was a negative number, but you know how it is. And that's not on you. That was on my booking. But, something like that to where you can kind of go off the air, a little bit of chaos, leave them wondering what happened. Did Brett retain the title? Did Mike Anthony win it? What was the situation? I wasn't there, so I don't know. So, hey, I need to get a ticket next time. So if these things ever happen, I've got it. But they were kind of put in a pickle, no question about it. I'm sure the plan might have been slightly different if they did not have technical difficulties. So, yeah, I got to keep that in mind. So anyway, that's just, alternative endings, and that's just playing armchair booker. And, in a perfect world, if I had a, unlimited budget, I'd do X, Y, Z. And it might have been, I would have figured out a way to go off the air with that match. First, I would have given it more time. And that's hard to know. It's like, but as a viewer, I'm like, I know I'm expecting a heavyweight title match. I know one or two things are going to happen. It's only going to be 7 minutes. So it's not going to be much of in the way of time. And so anyway, that's just having to say something, having to fill a minutes. I mean, that's hard.
Yeah, I'm with you on the misses. One of my misses was was not a fan of Anthony Idol. His punches, I did not feel like, even though he's as big a guy as Toomer, I did not feel like he even had a chance against Toomer. I felt like his skill level wasn't there with Toomer. So last week they did a deal where Toomer kind of walked away from him, which I thought that was the wrong thing to do.
To me, if I went and I haven't kept up with Toomer and side, we in trading messages, I was like, how long has this guy been around? That's a guy I could have kept on his feet for a long time before anybody ever took him off his feet. So let me give you an example.
Never lost. Yeah.
In the context of that match, he gets knocked off his feet early, and then later on, he's trying to get knocked off his feet with 3 or 4 clotheslines. Well, you've already knocked him off his feet, so how hard is it to do it again? So it's like when you get a guy of that size, if you can keep it and you want him to be a monster, think in terms of a Yokozuna or someone like that. You do everything in your power to, man, when the first time he ever takes a bump is like, oh my gosh. And whoever is the first one to bump him is the guy that gets the push or the pop or whatever you're looking for, because you've been waiting 6 months to see somebody knock the guy off his feet. I know we live in a society where it's hard to book 6 months worth of time with everything as fast and furious as it is, but that's just a thought process. I don't know the backstory. Right.
And with me, I actually timed the match. The match was only 4 minutes. I was upset, and it was voted. It won match of the year. So I'm reenacting my vote, because for just 4 minutes, guys, I cannot give match of the year. So the Young Goats against the Crowleys, that's my new vote. We'll talk about that on a reward show coming this week. But I liked the way it was put together. Don't get me wrong, because I just told you it was a hit. But in the misses department, I hate because it was only 4 minutes and then it messed up. But then you also have that idea that something's going to happen and they're going to eventually do the final showdown. And we may have Anthony winning a belt at that point. So, yeah, thumbs up, thumbs down on that match. All right, Steve, where are we at now? MVP, who would be your MVP of this show?
Ooh, that's a good one. Man, I'm going to have to go just because I was having seen him, come up and be around for a lot of his career and cross paths with him, back to Mike Anthony. I was really happy. I mean, it's like, how can you be happy and giddy about somebody's promo? Well, there you go. It's because you saw the guy coming up, like you mentioned, he's put on size. He's gotten better inside the ring, but really the promo. And because it's hard to, there's times when you can see promos and you're like, yeah, they're reading from a teleprompter. Yeah. If they're behind, it's a backstage interview where they have access to that, or they've been fed 3 lines and they've read over them 15 times. So they have them memorized, but it didn't feel like he had anything. He felt like he was given a bullet point or two, go out there, feed off intensity. And then he did that. And so I'm just, Mike Anthony, and that's coming from the intensity of the promo, the intensity that from the week before, the video package, and then, the intensity in his match. And also, obviously the follow-up promo leading in, coming out of the chaos of the technical difficulties. So I'll give him my MVP vote for this week. And, but that's with the caveat of several others could have easily fallen into that slot this week, just because there were some upper level performances across the board. So
I agree. And I'm going to go with Mike Anthony again. We've noticed that we give this award.
You can send it your check, Mike. We'll inbox me and I'll send you my address so you can send Christmas cards. I do take cash or credit cards as well. So we're check.
I gave it to Mike, mainly also the dive from the top, and also just that splat against the wall. It was almost like a cartoon character. And then the interview at the end, he has made me believe in Mike Anthony and that he could be our next champ here.
And that's what he's supposed to do, is like, especially on the heels, he would be one of the early opponents for this, a new babyface champion. And so you want those early challengers to be meaningful and not like you're just feeding guys to, just feeding guys to a babyface champion for them to just squash. And so that's not the case. What's going on here? Mike Anthony's done a really good job of being a top quality, high level challenger and somebody that I think people are going to be willing to pay that money to see how it pans out and if he ends up winning. So.
Right on. That's what makes him come. We're going to see if Brett Michaels can finally beat him again and shut him up like he did Alan Steele. So, all right. Okay.
Hey, Alan Steele, he's out there somewhere. I don't think you ever can totally shut up Alan Steele. So, I keep one eye open, as the song says, or keep your shades,
right.
keep your doors locked, or whatever.
Are you enjoying the episode? Well, Cash App us. That's right, $BTSTS. You don't have Cash App? Download it and get $5. That's right, $5. That's $BTSTS, $BTSTS. Join our Patreon site with the lowest tier being $3. Go to patreon.com/shootingtheshiznit without a G. We have over 400 episodes uncut and uncensored, and we also give away big prizes. Join today. Hey, use our Uber Eats code EATS-Brian T 24790UE. That's Brian T 24790UE. Use that code and get $20 off a $25 order. All right, so what do you look forward to in weeks to come, and what do you look forward to maybe next week or weeks to come on Championship Wrestling for Memphis?
Combination, where does some more of the K-Tumor, as he continues to advance and become a monster, another monster. Ivan Warsaw, my boy, killer, my boy. I want to see where, like I said, he's money. Don't leave that on the table. Figure out a game plan. He's a creative guy too, so tap into his own internal resource there and what his ideas. But don't let that money slip through your fingers, because. And I noticed they're have an early angle going on with him here, and Jimmy Blaylock and his monsters, or his house of what's it called, Hollywood Horror Show or whatever.
Right. And then he's he's tagging with, I don't know, but it looks like he's gonna tag.
And that's that's not a bad placement. First getting into the mix there, but. The tag situation and what, how the Danny B and his boy and Derek and where that's going to go. So the bottom line is, I think across the board, and the girls too, don't forget them. I mean, we didn't really touch much on them this particular broadcast, but obviously there's still a women's division that's working and getting better and doing what they can. So don't forget about them too. So look at just the whole package, just anything and everything that's already ongoing. Obviously the cliffhanger is seeing what the end of the Mike Anthony and Gun Show feud brings. Is it over? Will this be the last showdown, or will something happen that extends it on? So there you go. At least there's something to look forward to, and excited about it. So kudos, tip the hat that I'm not wearing to them.
Me too, man. Ivan Warsaw returning with Walker Hayes.
Yeah.
Walker Hayes. For some reason,
the remnants.
Walker
Remnants?
I'm excited about what they do with him. I call him like an Abyss Kane character if they keep the mask on him.
Yeah, that's good.
Love him. Big guy too, Brian. I've seen him live and stood right next to him. He's a huge guy. And young. So I also want to know, are the posse going to get a shot, man? They're looking for the championship committee. You got to give the posse a shot. And then, as always, as the last few weeks has been, we're looking forward to whatever they do with Brett Michaels and Mike Anthony. And can Mike Anthony finally take the belt from Brett? Or who's going to be the next challenger? And you talked about Ivan being, even though he's babyface right now, that's a guy that you could always put in the ring with.
He's a guy. I mean, you got K-Tumors working his way up. I mean, I feel like you got a couple different options that are kind of brewing up underneath there. So, and that's a good place to be. It's not like we're scrambling. It's like we're sitting here having a conversation, but they've got 0 people prepared. And don't sleep on Alan Steele, man. He may be out there. He's probably watching, listening. Put me in the that steel trap, man. That was a chiropractor's dream right there. So he's not. You never know when he shows back up. Derek King is you never know when he's going to decide to stick his nose in there when he's back in action. So lots of different options, lots of ways they can go. So we'll see how it shakes out. So again, the bottom line is they got
chiropractors. You can go to Jonesboro Chiropractic.
There you go. You might know somebody. If you need a little back cracking, head on down to Jones Boogie, and man knows somebody up there, if you will.
Thumbs up or thumbs down, Brian?
Thumbs up for sure. You can't really thumbs down this one. I mean, again, you can nitpick and say, well, if this or that or blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, this was a thumbs up broadcast. And kudos.
Me too, man. Really entertaining show. Big thumbs up. I just want to remind everybody before we go off the air, Rhino and me will be we will be doing a show about the review of the awards banquet sometime this week, and also Rhino's going to join us for AEW Dynamite. Also on that show is going to be Pro Wrestling Torch journalist Eric Kroll. So I'm excited about that. It'll be fun to see what happens on that show. Guys, Brian, thank you very much for setting in for Rhino. Same bad time, same bad channel. On the best little wrestling podcast in the business. Be there. And Brian knows this. You know this, I know. Brian.
That man, my friend, you love your mama.
I love my mama. I do. I'm like Mr. T. I love my mama.